Hey guys, and welcome back to Teal House Farm. Today we're going to make some white chicken chili, and we're going to talk a little bit about changing some, I don't know if I'm going to call it attitudes or outlooks or however, just about dealing with just inflation in the kitchen, and sometimes how we look at things can really change, I don't know, how it affects our families. I guess that's the best way, because I know a lot of us, myself included, are really frustrated by how high prices are on some things right now. Just trying to feed my family, and it's costing an arm and a leg. And I've really spent the last couple of months adjusting how we eat, trying to adjust my attitude about prices so that it's just not so overwhelming all the time. So I just want to start too by saying that I'm not going to be making light of the fact that some people are in very difficult financial situations, and there's a certain point in which you have to have income and enough difference between your income and your expenditures to buy food. And there's some people, thanks to inflation, that they're so close, like you got like $50, like, and I understand that feeling, because we have been there before many times, and that these solutions that we're talking about, the way that we've changed our diet to lower our grocery bill to kind of adjust for inflation, like they're going to work across the board. But some people are in situations where no amount of saving money is going to make a difference if you're upside down, and also some situations where you don't have a very flexible diet because maybe you're dealing with a significant like medical need or allergy, and you have to buy specific foods, and those foods are really expensive and you feel very trapped in a hole. So this is not making light of any of those situations, but I'm going to show you some practical things that we do to really make the food just stretch as far as possible and to be able to eat very affordably for our large family, even though inflation is pretty high. And the first one comes when it comes to my attitude. So I am the primary caregiver in the home. Sam works outside the home, and he's also in school full time. So Sam does 0% of the cooking or the mental energy that it takes to feed everybody, figure out how to feed everybody. That's all up to me. And when inflation really started to hit and we had to really look at how to adjust our diets, it was extraordinarily frustrating. I'll be right there, JJ. It'll be okay. So the frustration, I was extraordinarily frustrated, which made things worse because I had systems that worked. We have foods that we like to eat and ways of cooking that make life easier, and everything that we were using was like more expensive. And the idea of adjusting how we eat and what we eat, it's all on me as the primary caretaker to do the mental gymnastics to make that work. And it took me quite a while to realize that the number one thing that was preventing us from being able to get on top of the increased prices and inflation was my attitude about the amount of work that was ahead for me. Like, I just needed to buckle down and do it. It wasn't, it doesn't feel fair. Like, why can't things just, be affordable? Like, why do I have to completely change how we do things? But it's most important that we feed our family and that we feed our families as well as we can within the budget we have. So that the number one thing was changing my attitude and being willing to look and thinking outside the box and changing how I cook, changing how I meal plan. It was not easy, but I've come up with some tips and tricks that I'm going to share with you to make it work and to keep our food budget lower, even though a lot of prices are really high. So one of the big ones, today we're making white chicken chili. So 2 days ago, I cooked a whole chicken in the crock pot. Then the next day we had chicken tacos. And to make that meat go really far, we do a lot of vegetables. Vegetables are cheap. We home can vegetables. I look for sales. And when I can find something super cheap, like carrots on sale or potatoes, there was potatoes, it was $1 for, it was like a 10 or 15 pound bag right after Christmas. It was super cheap, and I canned like 50 pounds of potatoes, everything. I watch them to be on super sale. I bring them home, I preserve them so that I always have lots of vegetables at home, and I have them saved at the cheapest price, so I'm not dependent on market price. So make a whole chicken in the crock pot, have 2 vegetable sides and homemade bread. It's super cheap. And then what I was left with was actually a considerable amount of chicken left because we were able to fill up on the vegetables and just a little bit of protein. Then I made chicken tacos. And then to spread out the chicken meat across the tacos so that we didn't use quite the whole chicken for the tacos is you can add either rice or white beans or cauliflower rice, any of those things, half of that to a similar portion of chicken, half and half, with just your chicken taco spices. Those are neutral flavors, and so they will spread out the chicken spice flavor, and they'll fill bellies with only needing half the amount of meat, okay? And then today we're going to make white chicken chili. Sometimes I'll make chicken and dumplings at the end, or I'll make a chicken soup and I'll add like lentils for more protein. That's super cheap. But today we're gonna make a white chicken chili. So the first thing we have to do is pull the bones out of this. We're gonna make some stock. One thing that has really helped me a lot too is planning ahead. So I go back and forth between meal planning. I don't really like planning every meal of every day. And it just doesn't work well for me because our schedule will change, and then a meal that I had planned that needs me home all day or whatever, or for a large portion of the day, can't happen. And so something I do now is I think about maybe 3 meals that we would like for the week, and I make them on Sunday. And sometimes they can be frozen, so I might make like a triple batch of breakfast foods, and then I'll freeze half of it and we'll have half of it that day. Or today, like we're making the soup, we're not going to eat this chili today, we're going to eat it actually tomorrow, but I'm cooking it on Sunday. If I cook several meals on Sunday and keep them in the fridge for 3 or 4 days, or put them in the freezer for later in the week, then I have like convenience meals that are still homemade. Because this kind of stuff, guys, this inflation busting cooking, it takes work, okay? There's no quick and easy run and buy it off the shelf. Like, these are things that have to be cooked from scratch, is where we save a ton of money. And it's up to me as the primary food preparer to do all of this work. And I found that if I planned out meals and was expecting myself to cook from scratch every day, like it was kind of miserable because our schedule would change, and then that pressure, and then you can't just go buy frozen pizza from the store because it takes 3 frozen pizzas to feed our family, and that's like, you know, almost $30 right there for one meal. And your day does not have to be Sunday. Our day is Sunday because Sam, as you all know, works for the church. Sunday is not a day of rest in our family. It is a work day. And so I am much happier if Sundays are a work day straight through for me. Like, we have church in the morning, which is great. And I help out in areas of church, and plus just the amount of work it takes to bring 6 kids to church. And then in the afternoon, Sam stays at church and works because it's his work day. And then I come home. The kids they get unlimited whatever on Sunday afternoons. They can use tablets, they can watch TV, they can play outside, whatever they want to do to keep themselves busy. There really aren't rules on Sunday afternoon. It's a fun day, and I get all my work done. I do my planning for the week. I plan out my home planner. I think about the meals I want to have this week, but I don't assign them to specific days because, like I said, that always disappointed me because our schedule, especially with all of Annie's stuff, our schedule would just change, appointments would change and things, and then it gets all messed up. So I prep my food, several meals for the week on Sunday, and the rest, I just have a general idea of what I might make, but I just kind of plug in the blanks. And so doing all of this work on one day, whatever that one day is for you, it could be a Wednesday, it doesn't matter, is prepping for 7 days of eating by getting a lot of the long range prep work out of the way. Cooking the chili soup that's gonna need dry beans that take forever to cook. Like, I'm doing it today because I am home, and it's going to be on the fridge for us to enjoy for at least one meal. This one might make 2. I might make it extra big with the beans. But I've done the work, and I've done all that work on one day. So the changing of attitude and then the long range planning, so that you can do this from scratch work, is worth it. Because I will tell you right now, if you wait until the day that you think you're going to want chicken stock or something like that, you will get busy and then it will not get done. And so if you can plan ahead for a day, which is like your prep day, making stock, doing things like that for the week, it will make your life much easier, and you will be much more likely to follow through and actually save that money for your family. Another easy way that we save a lot of money, I talk a lot about chicken on this channel because chicken right now is kind of cheap and I can make it go a long way. But another way to go a long way is to look at your favorite casseroles and then cut the meat in half and replace half of it with either rice or with beans. So if I do one with hamburger, I'll use, for example, like I make a taco casserole that's like ground beef and it's got like corn and tomatoes and peppers and then like cornbread on top. And I will cut the amount of beef in half and replace with red beans. Beef and red beans, just with the same amount of taco seasoning. And it spreads that meaty flavor out without all the meaty cost. And I home can beans. So I'll link a video below, but I basically just buy big bags of dried beans. They're super cheap. Okay, you can get a big bag for like $2 of like 5 pounds of beans. And I will can them at home in pints. So I always have pints of pre-canned cooked beans on the shelf at home. And it costs me something like, I figured it out in the video and I'm going to quote this wrong, I think it's 10 cents a pint to home can the beans. But if you go to the store and you buy a pint of beans, you know, if you buy, it's not even a pint, it's like a 10 or 12 ounce can, it's over $1. And so it's incredible money savings, and then you have the beans pre-made. So we're making all this stock, right? Most of it will be used for chicken chili soup. Some of it I'll set aside, and later in the week I'll probably just make like a vegetable soup, but add lentils or beans in with the vegetables, and I don't have to wait for the beans to be cooked because I'm going to use my home canned dried beans that have now been canned into canned beans, right? And it saves me so much money. Instead of $2 worth of beans, you know, 2 cans, spending $2, I spent 20 cents. But I had to put that work in first. So you have to have days where you do food prep work, like canning the beans or canning those vegetables you bought on sale or making stock. You make huge batches of stock and can them. That's something we do a lot here too. I have plans for all this stock this week, so I'm going to use all of this broth this week, so I'm not going to can any of it, but I still have tons on my shelf should I need more. Okay, we're gonna let this simmer for over an hour. I'm gonna put I got my leftover chicken meat in here. I got my bees wrap here. Save lots of money by never throwing anything away, okay? Don't use disposable products. They suck your budget away super fast. But we're just gonna let this do this job. And I'm gonna go do some other stuff. And then I will come back and we'll do the next step together. Okay, so this is actually the next day, and we're getting ready to eat the soup that I made. I can show it to you. I just added some cream cheese, which is still kind of chunky. It'll melt in there. But we used the beans. We threw in some dry beans, right? We cooked them all the way from dry. We've got our leftover rotisserie chicken. This is all the stock that we had made. And I also threw in the leftover vegetables that I'd cooked with our crock pot rotisserie. Not really rotisserie, but I call it rotisserie chicken that I make at the crock pot. And a home can of canned corn, and that's just all kind of messed in there with some of my home canned jalapenos from my garden this year, all thrown in a pot. We'll have it with some cheddar cheese on top and probably some tortilla chips. I think I went back and watched what I'd filmed yesterday because I wanted to see if there's anything I missed that I had wanted to say, and I think I said about it all. The biggest lesson that I have learned, though, is that so much of it is my attitude towards tackling the problem, and I don't say that as like, oh, you just need to change your mindset. It's kind of true, but I say that I fully understand how easy it is to feel really stuck and to be just overwhelmed by the inflation, because it takes an incredible amount of work to do this type of cooking. It also takes an incredible amount of work to change your mindset and change what your family eats, especially if you have kids who like things a certain way, or a husband who likes things a certain way, or a wife who likes things a certain way. It's not as easy as just going to the grocery store and buying different things. It changes everything about how you do anything, and change is hard. And it's hard to learn to do things differently because we're creatures of habit, right? And so all that to say that it can be better. You can change your habits. You can do things like, I'm canning some dry beans right now at home, so we have some beans that are ready to go. Making stuff from scratch and making sure that you make your meat products last multiple meals in some of the ways that we talked about, because meat is one of the really big expenses. Things like that can make a big impact on your budget. So I just want to encourage you that some changes can make a difference, and it can feel better as far as your bottom line comes to when it comes to needing to buy groceries at the store. So thanks so much for watching, guys. We will see you all soon.